Testing 1, 2, 3. Warning, the following video may contain adult language and themes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you have a problem with this, stop playing this video now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You had your chance to back out. No turning back now. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, I just got done watching a pretty terrible movie. It was pretty bad. What was it called? Let me see here. What was it called? I think it's called yeah, here it is. It's On the Road. It was released in 2012. And here's the plot synopsis for you. Basically, there are these two friends. One's named Sal, and one's named Dean Moriarty. Now, Sal is a writer, and he's trying to write a book. And so, apparently, inspiration for him, this takes place in the 40s, I believe, like mid to late 40s. And apparently, to get inspiration for his book, he's going to travel across the country, partying, screwing, smoking, doing drugs with random people, and ruining as many lives upon the way. And with him is his friend Dean, who I believe doesn't have a family or something, but he's very attractive. He's like this Brad Pitt type of guy. These are young men in their like 20s or early to late 20s, and they just travel across the country just partying and just doing whatever they want. And when they need money, they basically go into stores and steal stuff. This is in the 40s, there's no surveillance, and so they just steal stuff. They use women, they ruin people's lives, they travel all across the country and just fuck up everything, and they just travel all the way across the country. And like, that's another thing about this story though, is that there's nothing's really connected in this story, so I can't really tell you exactly what happens in the order that it happens, because it's all like, the events aren't really connected. They're just a whole bunch of random trips across the country doing exactly what I said, screwing random women, partying all the time, mooching off relatives. Oh god. And the only difference between the two main characters is that Sal has a family and is very well connected and is a writer and just kind of chooses to live the bohemian hipster lifestyle, while Dean has no family, is not a writer, but is very good looking, very charming, and has no family, and this is not a lifestyle choice for him. He basically has to do this because he doesn't have any money, he has no family, I think he's psychotic or something. He's like charmingly psychotic because he can't stay in one place and work and have roots. He has to keep moving and has to keep fucking women and partying and running across the country. Oh god, this movie. Some of the women they meet, the only people I recognize in this movie are Viggo Mortensen, Kirsten Dunst, and Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart's basically plays the same character she plays in every other single movie she's in, which is the Manic Pixie Dream Fairy. Basically, she plays Kristen Stewart, and she plays just a woman to be used by Dean and to be lusted over by Sal, and Sal's the straight up nice guy, who's going across the country as a writer, and Dean's the fucking badass Brad Pitt guy who abuses her, and she's only in it for I would say a quarter of the movie, but she is nude in it. I will tell you that. That was one good thing about this movie. Kristen Stewart, you see her tits, okay? So let it be known to all, if you want to see Kristen Stewart's tits, they're in this movie, okay? Watch this movie. That's probably the only good thing about this movie. And Kristen Stewart, she just gets abused by Dean, and she's like, all I want is a nice house and children, and god, she's such a cock tease. That's how she's used in these movies as a cock tease for men who watch these movies, who are like, oh, Kristen Stewart, I just need to find a Kristen Stewart, all she wants is a nice upstanding guy. No, that's so fucking bullshit. Ugh. She's such a cock tease. I mean, she's so meant to bait men into thinking that there's a Kristen Stewart out there for them, and it's just so fucking bullshit. She's just that nice little girl who wants to be abused by the bad boy, and she's just always, oh, I don't know why he doesn't like me, and it's just fucking bullshit. Anyway, Kirsten Dunst is the other girl Dean's seen, who is his wife for a while, but she divorces him, and she has his babies, and she spends Dean sleeps with Kristen Stewart and then goes back to Kirsten Dunst and goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's so in the end, and then they go down to Mexico and all this stuff. And Viggo Mortensen, I believe, plays I don't know, they come across him, like they visit him on their like trek across the country, and it's like I think he's Sal's father. I'm not sure, but he's like a crazy old man, and he has a huge nice house, and it's like they go visit him, and like eventually you're like, well, you know, this is like that story that somebody tells you, that they ramble on and on and on and on and on about how much of a great time they had, and there's no real point to the story. It's like listening to someone else who partied and had drugs and drank and fucking screwed a lot. And it's like listening to that party for like hours and hours and I mean listening to that story for hours and hours and hours on end. And like you're like, is there a point to the story? I mean and in the end, you know, I know I'm spoiling it, but fuck it. Dean ends up homeless and old and decrepit, and like, well, not old. I mean, the story ends in like 51, which isn't that much later. But Dean's like a bum basically, and he's still looking for his dad, you know, and he's just, you know, poor and a bum and just traveling across the country, and like, and Sal's like this privilege. It's as if Sal never like has to deal with any of the repercussions of what they do. You know what I mean? He just goes back to his normal life, you know, as a rich, privileged boy, and basically he's like, oh, I should write a book about this, about me and Dean. Moriarty, I believe is Dean's last name, and how we went across the country and screwed people and fucking had sex and just, you know, bummed off of people and just, oh, God. And, oh, I forgot. They meet Steve Buscemi. You know, they carpool with Steve Buscemi across the country, and I'm like, oh god, that's another person in the movie. Steve Buscemi, please inject some fucking life into this movie, please. And it's like, and Steve Buscemi like comes in to have drinks with them when they're staying in a motel, and he's like, oh, by the way, I don't really like women. You know, and he goes up to Dean and he's like, would you like to have sex for money? It's like, so we get to see Dean ramming Steve Buscemi in the ass for money, and like, great. So Steve Buscemi just ruined this movie even more. So yeah, Kristen Stewart may be nude in this movie, but Steve Buscemi getting rammed in the ass by Dean offsets that pleasure. So that's ruined. So yeah, this movie's just, it's not very good. You know, the only good things about it are that Kristen Stewart is nude in it, and we get to see a lot of beautiful countryside. But that's pretty much it. By the end of the movie, I did not care about Dean. I did not care about Sal. Kristen Stewart pretty much disappears throughout the movie, and so does Kirsten Dunst. Characters come and go as they travel across the country. Some characters only appear for like 2 seconds and are pretty much meaningless. I don't know, man. Like, if you enjoy this kind of movie, if you've done that sort of thing, if you traveled across the country and you have fond memories of that, you know, just hitchhiking and having like strange adventures. But who does that nowadays? Who friggin' does that? Who can afford to do that? You know, you get screwed over, you get robbed nowadays, you get raped, you get fucking murdered. I mean, you can't do this nowadays. I don't even know if you could have done this back then. I mean, this movie's just such an fucking romanticized version of what America is. It's just sick. It's like, ugh, just kind of pissed me off. I don't know if this is based off a true story or if the people in this are famous or something, and this is based off famous people's lives. I don't care. It's a terrible movie. It's just, ugh, goddamn. The only reason why I watched it was pretty much for Kristen Stewart, because I think she's kind of hot. And, you know, I'm actually curious as to what other roles she's done and if she actually can act in any other way, shape, or form other than playing Bella, which I haven't seen it yet, so whatever. Yeah, it's called On the Road. It was released in 2012, and it's pretty bad. I would not recommend it. So, yeah. Have a nice day, people.